Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. My name is Amy Wilborn, and I'm delighted to serve as your worship associate today and welcome you fully into this space. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, ethnicities, histories, and bodies here. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit here. We welcome all you are bringing with you today and all your heart longs to set down. We extend a special welcome to each guest among us. We invite our guests to fill out a welcome card located in the pew rack in front of you and drop it in the offering plate later in the service. Guests may also pick up a welcome packet at the back of the sanctuary, where folks will also find hearing assist devices and Braille hymnals. A fragrance-free area is located on the front right side in the first few pews. If you are a visiting family, including children or youth, after the time for all ages noted in your order of service, please join the children's recessional and head across the hall to the common room. There you'll be greeted by someone who will orient you to religious education. Immediately following the service, everyone is invited for coffee and conversation in the common room. Again, my name is Amy Wilborn, and you can come and talk to me at the guest table there. As a way to engage at First Church, I invite everyone to explore the announcements insert for the numerous opportunities available there. In particular, let me draw your attention to these few. Volunteers are needed to cook and serve supper at the Cathedral Center on Saturday, January 4th at 6:30 p.m. Please visit our social justice table today during coffee hour to sign up to bring food or serve a meal. Start the new year with yoga at First Church. Due to popular demand, we will offer a new weekly yoga class on Friday mornings beginning January 10th. This is a special class for more restful, slower yoga with individual attention from teacher Morgan Ingalls. Our regular winter session yoga classes continue on Monday evenings and Wednesday mornings, beginning January 6th. Please visit the religious education table or our church website for more information and to register. We have a new Sunday parking lot. As of next Sunday, we can no longer use the Cass Park lot, but we found a new lot with 80 spots located next to the post office on Van Buren and Juneau. All you need is the First Church code 1842, and parking is free on Sundays. Please find details on these and more events in your announcements insert. Finally, please silence any electronic devices for the remainder of the service. Once again, I welcome you to First Church by inviting you to join me in the unison reading of our mission, which is printed in your order of service. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. Now I would like to introduce you to today's pulpit guest, Beth Monhollen. Beth has been a member of First Church since 2013, has served on a variety of committees, is an Our Whole Lives facilitator and worship associate. In her day job, she is an advisor for undergraduate students at Alverno College. I'd like to invite Diane Horn up to light the chalice with me.
These opening words are from Starhawk. We are all longing to go home someplace we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned we can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere, a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us as we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends, someplace where we can be free. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in our opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. So Kimberly is out of town visiting family this morning, so I have a Time for All Ages story for you. It is called The One Day House by Julia Durango. Wilson lived in a small house with his grandmother, Gigi, whom he loved and adored. Gigi's house was older than Gigi herself. One day, said Wilson, I will paint your house orange and yellow like the sun. Gigi smiled lovingly. I will like that, but today you are all the sunshine I need. Wilson liked to dream about all the things he would do for Gigi's house and tell not only Gigi, but other people in the neighborhood. As he was getting ice cream one summer morning, he said to the ice cream man, one day, I will fix Gigi's window so she can open them wide and feel the breeze. That's a fine idea, said the ice cream man. Fresh air is good for the soul. While they were sitting on Gigi's porch, Wilson said to her, one day, I will build a fence around your yard so you can have a dog to keep you company. I will like that, Gigi said, but today I have all the company I need. As Gigi and Wilson were raking leaves one autumn day, Wilson said, one day, I will fix the stairs so Gigi can sit on the balcony and see forever. That's a beautiful idea, said a passing neighbor. Everyone enjoys a pretty view, said her friend. One day, Wilson said to Gigi, I will fix the chimney so you can make a fire to keep you cozy. I will like that, said Gigi, but today You are all the warmth I need. At the library, Wilson checked out books all about fixing and repairing houses. One day, Wilson said, "I will fix the roof on Gigi's house to keep out the wind and snow." "That's a smart idea," said the librarian. "There's nothing better than a snug house on a wintry day." One day, Wilson said to Gigi, "I will fix your piano so you can play music again." "I will like that," said Gigi, "but today you are the song in my heart." Wilson collected all of his pictures and all of his dreams for Gigi's house and took them to school for show and tell. He hung them all up and then added, "One day I will plant a garden for Gigi so she can be surrounded by flowers." "That's a great idea," said Wilson's teacher. "It's fun to watch things grow." "One day," said Wilson, "one day." And then one day was here, and everyone from the community, the passing neighbors, the ice cream man, the mailman, the librarians, the teachers, the friends from Wilson's class came, and they helped paint the house orange and yellow, repair the roof, fix the stairs, build a fence, sweep the chimney, tune the piano, and plant a garden. "One day," said Gigi, "is a very nice day indeed." "One day," said Wilson, "is the best day ever." Gigi smiled with love and said, "The very best, just like you." Please rise and body your spirit for our children's recessional, hymn to As we enter a time of spoken meditation, followed by silence, followed by the seated singing of Spirit of Life, I invite you to bring your attention fully into this space, to let go of the distractions pulling at you from beyond these walls. Feel your body in the seat where you are. Hear your breathing as you slowly inhale and exhale. Sense the presence of those around you. Feel your heart beating and know it is the beating of those in this room. May this meditation from you minister, Reverend Maureen Killeran, call us all more closely together. Here in this space we are gathered, called by our sense of urgency or duty or the longing for community, called to be together on this day. Here in this space we are gathered, called to hold ourselves accountable to our values, to remind ourselves of those hopes and dreams and possibilities for which sometimes in the rough and tumble world it can be hard to hold on to. Here in this space, some of us have come in pain. May we pause and hold gently all the concerns, named and unnamed, that are gathered in this room this day. And in the complexities of community, it is right that in this space, some have come with joy bubbling in their hearts. May we rejoice together, remembering the wisdom that says joys are multiplied when shared. Here in this space, we are called to weave the web of human community. May we pause, and in our silence, may we lift up at least one blessing, one joy, no matter how small, that has touched our life this week. May our shared silence be a blessing on our hearts, on this community, and may this blessing extend outward to grace the wider world. May it be so.
I don't think I know anyone who enjoys packing and moving their stuff. I know even fewer people who like to pack and move other people's stuff. So when my marriage ended 9 years ago, and I had to move out of my family home, I struggled with the idea of asking others for help. I'd been a stay-at-home mom of 2 young boys for 10 years. I didn't have a job or regular income and was in the middle of graduate school. I was trying to navigate the emotions and challenges of divorce, the most difficult of which was losing half of my time with my sons. But I needed to move out of that home that I could no longer afford, so I had to ask for help. Earlier that year, longing to connect with people who understood what I was going through and fill my newfound time without kids, I turned to the internet. I found a divorce support meetup group and signed up for my first event. Being the steadfast introvert that I am, I reluctantly started by going to a small group luncheon. Eventually, I went to larger events, met with groups of complete strangers, and even did something I never pictured myself doing ever. I sang karaoke. And yes, it was Love Shack. These new experiences were terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The meetup group was made up of people of a variety of ages, walks of life, and circumstances. The stories we shared when we were together were often painful. Many of us felt like our lives had been shattered. But when we were together, our common experiences gave us a sense of knowing one another, despite having nearly been strangers. And the mission was often just to have fun. So when faced with moving out of the house with limited resources, I sent a message to my friends and to the divorce support meetup group asking for help. I rented a U-Haul, dangled pizza and beverages as a reward, and took a leap of faith that enough people would show up to get the job done. I really only expected a handful of people. What happened that day was something I could never have expected and will certainly never forget. An army of people showed up on my doorstep that day, 18 people. A couple of them were complete strangers from the meetup group that I've never seen again. A few were friends, but most were people that I had met maybe once or twice. They moved me from my 3-bedroom house and into a new flat in less than 2 hours. Once the truck was unloaded, people started opening boxes, putting away dishes, organizing food in the pantry, and even making beds. When they left, I was not only physically moved, I had been moved in spirit. What I anticipated would be a day fraught with feelings of loss and regret was a day that filled my heart with a wave of gratitude, the size of which I had never experienced before. Some of those acquaintances developed into good friendships. Together we formed what we called our tribe and supported each other, helped each other through the many hurdles of divorce. We were the walking wounded. We bandaged each other, helped each other up, and sometimes watched each other fall. We banded together to create a community around our struggles, and in that community, our struggles felt smaller. My tribe helped me form a new identity and gave me the strength to try new things, take risks, and to open my heart again to possibilities. I don't see my friends from the meetup group as often as I used to, but I'll always carry with me the day that an army of movers ushered me into a new life.
We should just stop there. Thank you. So, I started running, and I used the term very loosely in relation to myself, in the spring of 2009. Now, I had no real desire to be a runner, but my husband and several of our friends, we'd all been feeling a little, middle-aged and lazy, and we wanted to try something new. So we decided to start a Couch to 5K program, and I thought, how hard can it be? Well, I hated it. I hated everything about it. I thought running was the dumbest thing in the world, and why would anyone ever do it? But I did keep doing it, and I distinctly remember saying after running my first 5K, I will never run farther than this. Famous last words. Because despite my stated dislike for running, I kept doing it. And somewhere at the end of the second year of running, I realized that I didn't hate it anymore. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed realizing that my body could do more than I ever expected, that I was stronger than I believed I ever could be, and I enjoyed the deeper camaraderie I had with my husband and the friends who ran with us. So, to my great surprise, I suggested to my husband that we start training for a half marathon. And we did. While running can be a solitary activity, and I do enjoy quiet solo morning runs, the sense of community really surprised me. Smiling and nodding at strangers along trails, encouraging friends who were struggling to finish one more mile. The sense of community was something no one had told me about when they were telling me what kinds of shoes to buy and what kind of clothes to wear. But it was during, I think, my fourth half marathon that this sense of community really became clear to me. It was a race in Madison in August, but it started out cloudy with a comfortable temperature. And I was running one of my best races for about the first 7 miles. And then the sun came out, and then the course wound its way into the Arboretum, if you're familiar with where that is in Madison, and the wind completely stopped, and then around mile 8, my left knee started to ache, and I just wanted to be done. I kept moving despite my overheatedness, and felt, though, for stretches of that course that I was totally alone. And then it got better, everybody. Then we rounded a hill going into mile 10, and I thought, there's no way I can do this. But that hill was taking us out of the Arboretum and into a neighborhood where there were spectators cheering us on. And just as I thought I couldn't take one more step, a woman and her little 5-year-old girl were standing on the curb with a cooler, handing out popsicles. I took one, gave that little girl a high five, and she said, "You can do it." And to this day, I'm convinced that popsicle and a cheer from a stranger saved my life and made me realize I was part of the running community. When I think about that particular moment, I'm reminded of a running proverb that I love, which says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." There are a lot of things that we can get done a lot faster by ourselves. Anyone who's done group work or served on a committee can attest to this. Some things are just more efficient when you do them by yourself. But fast and efficient are not always the best answer. There are certain things that we need to not go fast, but have endurance to go far. And community can be the key to going farther than we think we can. I'll tell you about another runner, far different from me, an elite professional runner named Shailene Flanagan. Has anyone heard of her? Shailene Flanagan has been to the Olympics 4 times, holds multiple world championships and record holders for distance running. She also won the New York City Marathon in 2016 at a pace of 2 hours and 26 minutes. If you don't know how fast that is, it's so fast I can't even wrap my head around it. But despite all of those amazing accomplishments professionally, one of the things that makes Shailene Flanagan stand out in the running community is the ways in which she trains. So Shailene turned pro in 2004, and then in 2009, she joined a running club in Portland and was the sole woman in that club. But she very intentionally started recruiting other women to join the club and train with her. And what Shailene did was nurture the talent of those women. She helped them to elevate their performance to her level and beyond. And they became, in the words of a New York Times interview in 2017, one of the most formidable group of distance athletes in the nation. That group of women outperformed the men. They won multiple world championships and saw almost every single one of them go to at least one Olympics. In working together, they raised their individual performances to new heights. They helped each other truly grow. In the running community, this kind of competitive mentoring is what people call the Shailene effect. In training for herself and in training with others, they all got better. In the Olympic trials in early 2016, Flanagan and a teammate had a solid lead. This was a marathon trial, by the way, and were running stride for stride well ahead of everyone else. But in the last few miles, Shailene started to falter. Instead of pulling ahead, her teammate stayed by her side, encouraged her, and even at several points brought her water so that Shailene could conserve her energy. And together they finished the race strong, and they both went to Rio, where Shailene became the top American finisher in that marathon. The teammate, as she talked about why she stayed with Shailene during that trial, said that Shailene had done the same thing for her and that they would be in it always together. Shailene had my back, she said, and I will always have hers. In that same New York Times article, Flanagan herself said, "I thoroughly enjoy working with other women. It makes me a better athlete and a better person. It allows me to have more passion toward my training and racing. When we achieve great things alone, it doesn't feel as special." Flanagan has really pioneered a different kind of elite competitiveness. One that in her case says, yes, of course, we're going to go fast, we're elite runners, but we are going far, farther than any of us thought we could before, because we are going together. And therein lies the power of community. Yes, we can accomplish things on our own, but we can accomplish more together. And when that togetherness is in pursuit of common goals, and when we strive to bring out the best in each other, real progress happens. In the wider scheme of things, to quote Helen Keller, alone we can do so little. Together we do so much. Civil rights leader Ella Baker is a shining example of this. An activist for more than 50 years, starting in the late 1930s, Baker was a pivotal leader in the civil rights movement. She held leadership positions in the NAACP and the Southern Christian Leadership Council. And in 1960, she guided the formation of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which became instrumental in the voter registration drives in the South. Baker was often critical of top-down hierarchical leadership that, as she said, disadvantaged the already disadvantaged. Her style of leadership was grounded in community building, or, as Colorline so eloquently puts it, in investing in everyday people to channel their collective power to resist oppression and fight for sustainable, transformative change. And therein lies a key purpose of community. We come together in community because we know that the work of creating the world we want to leave our children's grandchildren is too much for any one person to ever tackle alone. We know, as Baker knew, that sustainable change does not happen fast, and that the distance we need to go to make justice a reality for everyone means that we have to work with others. In community, we can pool resources, offer different perspectives to solve problems, support each other when the work starts to weigh on us. Baker's work shows us that we must focus on common goals, elevate each other's strengths, and importantly, provide accountability. Because if the power of community is that we can accomplish more together, and if part of the purpose of the community is to create sustainable, transformative change, then a piece of that change is to be held accountable when we stumble. Accountability within community helps us to transform not only systems, but ourselves. Shailene Flanagan and the elite runners who trained with her have all said it wasn't just the support that helped them improve. It was the accountability to each other. The activists who worked and learned from Ella Baker became more effective because the model of leadership they followed was one in which they held each other to standards they were all trying to achieve. And I hope that each of us can think of examples from our own lives where those with whom we are in community have called us to be our best selves. Years ago, in my intimate circle of friends, I broke a friend's trust. It was not intentional, but my intentions did not alleviate the harm. As difficult it was for her to say and for me to hear, my friend let me know how hurt she was by what I had done and how she needed a break from our friendship. That holding me to account for my actions was painful, but it gave me time to reflect, to understand how and why I had made that mistake, and to figure out how to not make it again. I grew from that moment and became a better friend, not because of the mistake, but because I was held accountable for it. There's another side of community, though, that is worth exploring, and that is our very human tendency to build a community by building a wall. We humans really like to belong. It's a basic human need right up there with breath and water and food. But we do have a nasty evolutionary tendency to find belonging by excluding somebody else. We draw circles in the sand and say, this is for them, this is for us and them. And we have only to glance at our history or to look at our current socio-political landscape or read this morning's news to see examples of that. We demonize others, dehumanize others. We tighten our circles so no one else can get in. But what happens when we widen it? A few months before the presidential election in 2016, I read a news story on American Al Jazeera that highlighted a community that had very intentionally widened its circle. The reporter had gone to visit Eastern Kentucky, just 3 hours east into the mountains from where I was born and where most of my family still lives. In the college town of Pikeville, there is a thriving Muslim community with a mosque which serves as 6-county region. The story highlighted how people in the area had come to embrace and often protect their Muslim neighbors, and how interfaith activities had become a norm in the town. One of the things from the story that sticks with me all these years later is a comment from a professor at the college. He said that in Pikeville, you have 2 pockets of people who are often made to feel excluded from the American mainstream: rural Appalachians and American Muslims. But here, in this community, they have found commonalities in their religion, their dedication to family, and the belief in the home they are making for their children. They've become a united community. They've broken down us and them and become one tribe. This kind of community building is not easy. It means being uncomfortable and letting go of our notions of who other people are. And it means being vulnerable in return. And I am not talking here about finding common ground with people who dehumanize us or have vastly different values that violate our own. To paraphrase James Baldwin, if someone else's point of view is centered in our oppression, then that is not a problem that common ground can fix. No, but I am talking about people intentionally coming together in community, listening to, hearing, and learning from each other, and asking to be held accountable when we ourselves are the ones doing the dehumanizing. I am talking about people who will help us to see the places where we have unnecessarily closed our circles, and a community of people who will help us to widen those circles where we can. And I think maybe that's our goal in making a better world, to see how alike we are, to find a tribe of people, as Amy said in her story, that show up for you and who you can show up for. Because in our desire to be part of a community or tribe, how can we learn to see the interconnectedness of all the tribes to which we already belong? In his best-selling novel, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, if you haven't read it, go home and get it, Sherman Alexie tells the story of Arnold, a young Native American boy on a reservation in eastern Washington state. The story follows Arnold through his turbulent first year of high school, which is off the reservation at the white high school 20 miles away. Over the course of the year that sees many tragic losses for Arnold, he comes to this very realization that I wish for all of us, that he belongs to many tribes. Some he was born into, some he chose, his native community, his broken family, the weirdo, nerdy kids he hangs out with, the basketball team where he thrives, his growing circle of friends. Arnold comes to see that he does not have to be limited in his compassion, his respect, his service, because of any of those tribal memberships. He can grow, keep the tribes that sustain him, and join new ones. Arnold widens his circle because, like the competitive runners, like Ella Baker and other activists, he connects to people with common goals who hold him accountable and help him grow. And, critically, who help him to know, really know, that he is not alone. And that is the other power and purpose of community, to remind us we are in this life together. Helen Keller, to quote her again, said, "I would rather walk alone in the dark. I would rather walk with a friend in the dark than alone in the light." And we all, at some point or another, feel as if we're walking alone with no help, no light to guide us, no one to share our burdens. The work of living can be so hard. We burn out, especially when we do too much alone, carry too much ourselves, put our nose to the grindstone, forgetting to raise our heads and look up to see the amazing communities to which we belong, to see the people walking with us, even in darkest hours. We need to be reminded that we are not alone, and that is the why of community. Why we gather in homes and join clubs and congregate with others in places of worship like we do here. We could all be doing something else right now, as we could be each Sunday, sleeping in, having some hot coffee or a cocktail at brunch. But we gather here in this community of people to be reminded that in a world of so much suffering and injustice that is sometimes darker than we can bear, we are walking together with friends. One of my favorite singer-songwriters, Vienna Tang, has a song called The Atheist Christmas Carol. I listen to it year-round, but I do play it almost daily this time of year. The final verse of the song says this. I'm not going to sing it, given my voice. It's the season of scars and of wounds in the heart, of feeling the full weight of our burdens. It's the season of bowing our heads in the wind and knowing we are not alone in fear, not alone in the dark. Community is knowing we are not alone in the dark. On that day of the half marathon, when I faltered and thought I couldn't go on, and that little 5-year-old stranger saved me with a popsicle, I said out loud as I kept trudging up the hill, "Oh, this saved my life." And to my surprise, another woman just behind me said, "I know, me too." In my overheated exhaustion, I hadn't even realized someone else was so close to me. But she and I laughed, toasted our popsicles, and walked with each other up that hill. And that little bit of camaraderie is what gave us both the strength to keep going down that road. In this new year, which we know will bring births to celebrate and deaths to grieve, which will bring political strife demanding our attention and injustices demanding our action, on whatever roads we walk, may we answer the call of help from people we barely know. May we offer to carry each other's burdens from time to time. May we accept the water that someone brings to us and offer a popsicle to someone if the need arises. May we remember and remind each other we are not alone on the road. We are going far together. I'm tempted to just do an audible and be like, go home! Top that. It was great. But please rise and body your spirit for our responsive reading, which is printed in your order of service. I will begin. From the busyness of every day, we gather once a week to remember who we are, to dream of who we might become. We travel this road together. As companions on this journey, we share the milestones we meet along the way. Individual moments of joy and sorrow become shared moments of comfort and celebration.
We travel this road together.
We share this journey across differences of belief and opinion because we value diversity and because we care for one another.
We travel this road together.
Today, as we take the next steps, let us notice our fellow travelers, the burdens that they carry, the songs that inspire their hearts.
We travel this road together.
As we gather in beloved community, let us open the holy havens of our hearts. Let us share the sacred places of our souls, for we are pilgrims who share a common path. We travel this road together. Please join in our closing hymn, number 10. In the words of Deborah Hafner and Vienna Tang, we are on a journey. We didn't plan it. We didn't have time for the bread to rise. We may find ourselves in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, doubting that we should ever have come. But look around. We are not alone in fear, not alone in the dark. We are part of a widening circle of community that will sustain us, that walks with us in darkness and in light. May it be so.